Hi, I'm John Montgomery from fxphd, and welcome back to another one of our videos covering interesting topics in color grading and resolve with Warren Eagles. How's it going, my friend? How's things down in Brisbane?
Oh, loving it, John. Loving it. It's a beautiful day today to be sat inside with lights recording videos.
And I'm missing another day on the beach here in Mexico, but I got the weekend coming up. The question,
we can get out of the weekend.
Exactly. So for our topic in this video, I thought I'd kind of throw out a question that someone actually wrote in and asked us as part of our training at fxphd, and that was concerning the difference between color correction and color grading. I guess the question to you is, what is the difference, and do we care? Does it really matter what we call things?
You see a lot of this reference, and we get quite a lot of questions like this through the academy as well. And I always say correcting is the process of taking 4 different cameras. They're all different types of cameras. So you have a Sony, a Blackmagic, a GoPro, a drone. They're all shooting with different sensors. They'll have different gammas, different color spaces. You bring them in together and you correct them. Some might be overexposed, some might have different color temperatures, and you make them a normal. So you try and make them look like one. I call that color correction, because you're basically taking all these things, and there's so many now, aren't you? And you're bringing them all into, could be bringing them into one space, working in one color space, and that is then where the color grading part takes over.
Really quickly,
sort of how you'd see it?
Yeah, really quickly before the grading, is that kind of similar? Would the synonym for that kind of be a technical grade on the footage?
Yeah, you would hear things called like tech grade or base grade or balance pass, dailies, one lights. You're basically pulling them all together and you're saying, right, yeah, it was all shot on the same day, but as we know, they all film differently. And I will add, it's one of the hardest things to do. And it's probably even harder than the grading side of things that we do as well.
But I would imagine, while you say that's really difficult, doesn't that make the creative part of what your next step is, color correction, easier? I mean, in the end, do you save time doing that?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. The better you get that initial balance, we're calling that the correction part, that tech pass, then your final grade will be a lot easier, because you've already got things to like a normal. You've graded the footage, you've understood it, and that just makes that a little bit easier. So most of the movies that I work on, I tend to get involved in that early pass as well. So then when it comes to the final grade, I understand the footage, I've worked with it a bit before, maybe I've done the dailies. It just makes that whole thing a bit easier. And the creative side of it, the grading, I always say, it's a bit like creating a music score. It's like the sound that can really add tension to your show. Then the vision, the grade, can make it more ominous or more serious or more happy. And there's sometimes the really creative part of it.
And also, I would think too as well, once you start working on a section or work on a sequence of shots, maybe a scene or something like that, if you balance everything ahead of time, then it's easier to actually copy and apply grades to the next shot and adjust it. You're doing minor tweaks, as opposed to if you were using different cameras or something like that between those 2 shots. Copy and paste is not even going to come close to working.
No. Let me show you something. So in Resolve 17, obviously where we've done a whole range of classes, they introduced the new color management. And they've simplified it even more now in 17.4. If you go into DaVinci Color Managed, you've got an SDR option or an HDR option. We'll just stay with the SDR for now. And we have an output option for SDR Rec 709. So this could be you if you are just doing simple shows. Do not think that Color Managed is for the high-end Hollywood type grader. It's not. It can be now utilized for everybody, but they've simplified it. So what that means, if I've got a variety of shots from different cameras, it will detect, and if it understands metadata from them, it will display them. in that color space and gamma that it was shot in. If something like this, which was a ProRes, which was shot in log in the camera, so in the camera it would have looked like that. And as we know, when we get a lot of log sources in, we have to think about how to display them and grade them. If we're in color managed, it automatically knows what it should be and gives us a great starting point. Now, if we don't know, we can go through our list and we can add the one that we want. So like this Sony one, I'd go through in the list, pull that one up, and that becomes a great starting point. And it has a real natural feel about it, which I think is just helping us in that initial correction stage before we do the cool stuff.
And I just want to mention one thing too, is that I think that's great about your courses, and I've loved over the 16 years that you've been doing them, is that I really respect and appreciate your focus on the creative. I mean, obviously there's button pushing and showing how to use the software, but talk a little bit about that and your philosophy of your courses for color grading and how you teach.
I think it's very important to share the real world knowledge about what happens when you have clients in the room. Sometimes things get a little bit more hectic than normal, but I like to say it's sometimes more about the art than it is the app, because you've got to have a balance of both. You've got to know the software which we're teaching, but then you've got to know when to use something and why you use it. So I've always been really looking out for the student and saying, well, you're not going to use this thing all the time, but there's going to be one time when you really do need it, and this is why it's cool for this type of footage or this type of situation. So that's how I like to teach, and I find it fun that way.
Well, be sure to head over to fxphd.com/resolve to check out the full lineup of Warren's courses. He's got a fundamentals course, an intermediate course, Resolve 17 Insights course, which takes a look at new features in Resolve 17, but then kind of two, I would say, part of that creative grading process, which are the looks and matching masterclass and insights for the pro colorist. Those are all available over at fxphd.com/resolve. And
remember, John, you don't just get the screen recordings of how I do things, you get the footage as well, the same footage. So there's quite a lot of material, varying material that you can download and keep to continue your learning. Enjoy.
Yeah, so thanks so much for taking time to watch. Be on the lookout for other Resolve videos here in our fxphd feed on YouTube. If you want to be notified when new videos come out, just click the subscribe button and you'll get a notification whenever we release something new. Thanks for taking time to watch. See ya.